Everybody, welcome to today's show. All right, I'm gonna just jump right into this one. This episode is just about me and my mom just happened to be having a conversation, so I wanted to share it with everyone. This conversation is, I believe, pertinent and intellectual in nature, but it actually spans both views of everything. Please, by all means, enjoy the subject and listen in. Thanks, guys. All right, so like I said, I was on Plenty of Fish, right? So I'm creating my account. I'm going there. And like I said, I'm a middle aged man, right? Like I'm 48. Well, I was 47, turning 48. So, me being me, I'm going in and it gives me some categories. I guess I was just so used to having a male female category. It said I selected man. How come it selected cis man, some other something? I mean, it's been a while since I've been there because obviously I'm in a relationship now. But what the? Okay. I had to do some research. I had to look up what the fuck is a cis. I needed to know the difference between their man, whatever they consider a man. One is a cis man is a man that was born a man, has man parts, and lives his life as a man, right? Mm-hmm. Liking females, like a normal guy.
That's not his choice.
Right.
To be born with both genitals.
Mama, we ain't talking about people that are born with both genitals. We are not talking about that.
That's what a cis man is.
That is not what a cis man. A cis man is a regular guy. It's me. I'm a cis man. Yes. That's your arm. I'm a regular cis man. What the? So, this is stuff I've been talking about. See, that's what I'm saying. That's confusion, right? I don't even know what kind of guy I am, right? So, but obviously, it had to deal with like, are you a man seeking a man seeking a woman, an other seeking a man or woman, or an other seeking a man, or like that was the gist of it, right? And they have all the. I'm just sitting in there like, okay, I guess I can't go any further until I figure out what these mean. So, of course, me being me, I instantly open another browser and I'm like, okay, and obviously, like I said, I don't remember what the other ones were. It's really crazy, and I don't care about that account anymore. But the reason why I'm saying this is because people are so caught up on these labels nowadays, right? Why are they caught up on labels? Like I don't want to be recognized as a meat sack. I don't want to be recognized as like that's how I identify as, and that's the problem with people nowadays. They want to identify as things, and reality
What's a meat sack?
It's just I was just saying a meat sack, just a word.
Just
actually, I got the yes, a meat sack, like a sack that holds meat. Like that's all you are is a meat sack. This actually I got that from a really old movie. What was his name? His name was he just had dementia. They just found out he had dementia.
Bruce Willis?
Yeah, it was an old Bruce Willis. It had Mia Jovovich in it.
You talking about
the space type of movie where she was like the savior of the universe or whatever the case may be?
One of my favorites.
I can't think of what it's called. But so during that time, now look at what year that was. And the guy says, "What do you identify? Who are you?" And he says, I'm not human. I identify as a meat sack. And so, and obviously I didn't understand it then. It was funny because we didn't know what the hell they were talking about, right? Mm-hmm. But what ended up happening is that little transition, because it's supposed to be like a futuristic movie, right? And it was very, very California ideal based, right? Like, so a lot of these ideas that were coming up and people were saying or doing whatever,
they just like every other movie in California, right?
Hollywood.
Yeah, Hollywood actually starts doing their research on people, what they're looking for, so to gain popularity in the films or whatever the case may be. So, and that's what I said. That's where I got meat sack from. I'm just saying meat sack, mama, because it was the one word that I was like, you identify as a meat sack. So when obviously like 20 plus years later,
They do have other.
right. 20 plus years later, when they're talking about I identify as this, I'm like, that is the first thing that pops into my head. I was like, you got to be kidding me, because I accessed, that was the relative memory that I held. So my mind automatically tries to understand things. Probably because I'm like a troubleshooter guy, and that's all I do ever do is troubleshoot, fix, resolve, whatever, right? Find a solution. That's I'm a solutionist. So with that, and because that is, I just don't understand, and I feel like hopefully one day people will start to understand identifying as a man or woman does not make you that. Identifying as something does not make you that.
Of course.
Again, I respect all my LGBTQ plus and forever, whatever that is. I don't know what the extras are. I'm just being honest. I'm being honest. I mean, no, like I said, honestly, I'm cracking jokes right now, but I mean, I have friends that, male friends that like guys, but the whole thing is we're friends. So with that friendship comes understanding, and I didn't have to question, he didn't have to question my ethics. He understood my classification because we are friends. Right, so he understands me. So when I say, if you don't mind, please, when you're at the house at the party, please, I hate to ask this of you, but that's not an influence I would like on my children, my young children. And they were like, oh, okay. I mean, you guys can hold hands and do everything else. So no, I'm asking them not to like kiss each other and, like public acts of affection, right? That's it. Outside that, I mean, they can hold hands and do everything else that they do. You know what I'm saying? I mean, what? That's a normal thing people that are in love would do, and they're in a relationship is hold hands. So, like I said, I'll just ask if you guys wouldn't kiss. That's all I asked. He's like, I got you, bro. And that's what I'm talking about. All these other people that think that they have to be all, oh, you hate these people because you're this type of person. First of all, you're classifying me as someone that you don't know who I am. And that's part of this identity thing. People are losing who they are. By doing that, how are you supposed to have happiness in your life if you don't have direction? If you don't have something to fight for?
They do. They're fighting for
Mama, that's not fighting.
XYZ, and they get it.
Mama.
They get it.
Mama, you know why they're getting it?
They get it.
They getting it because they want votes. That's why they're getting it. That's why all of this. Because it's all about them votes. They want them votes. Because California is huge. And California got the numbers. They're one of the states that got the numbers. But the whole problem is a lot of these people, all they need to do is...
I'm still fighting for my own rights. So, but they get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. How they get it. I mean, they've got all this legislature.
Well, what they did was
bathrooms.
they put it under.
I would never allow my granddaughters to go in a bathroom that says it could be for anyone. I would never.
Me either.
Not by themselves.
I wouldn't let my son either.
I wouldn't. And like I say, everybody is adopting to what that community wants as fairness, women still have not gotten full rights. They don't make the same thing as a CEO of Mark what's his name?
Mark Wahlberg, or not Mark Wahlberg, but Mark
Zuckerman.
Zuckerberg.
Okay, if I was the CEO of Nevada Power, I wouldn't have made the same money as the CEO of Nevada Power male.
And that
So
is true.
I mean, we haven't gotten that, but
Women do make. I mean, you can. I mean, honestly, Mama, you can Google it, and Google will tell you. Like, there's like, it's bad, but it's almost like a woman has to make. So if you're making $200,000 a year as a CEO, right?
mm-hmm.
That same woman probably makes around 150 to 170.
Of course.
You know what I'm
But
saying?
it's not the same thing. But it's not the whole structure is a hierarchy.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and I mean it has been, but I mean, women.
I think it's getting better.
Maybe.
I mean, everything is a slow process. You got to understand that too. The LGBTQ.
That is not a slow process.
Mama, the LGBTQ.
That is not a slow process.
Mama, but the LGBTQ.
We've been trying to get it for how long?
Right. But they're because they're integrated into every family in America, right? What I mean by this is integrated within every family. Like a parent has no choice when the kid comes to them and says, "Hey, Dad, I'm gay." I mean, yeah, they do have choice. Like you told me what the other day, some dude he went and who was he?
Well, I don't want to really actually say the name, but when his son disclosed that he felt as though he was gay, he shot him and killed him.
And he just went to jail.
Well, the mom has been fighting for him to get his sentencing. He walked for a year and a half after killing his son. He was still living his life like nothing. You know, and again,
Well, do you know what state that was?
I'm not bashing the community, but I think that their agenda is being pushed on everyone else.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That doesn't make it fair. That doesn't make it okay.
You see it on television. There's not one show that you can see that doesn't have it in it. That's why I started watching Korean movies.
Wow. Hold up. So, I don't mean to
I'm
get
not
this.
saying that they're not in there, but
right? No.
You don't see it that often.
Right. That's not what I'm getting at, Mama. What I'm trying to get at is now, me personally, I'm 48 years old, right? You're 68, right? So that's definitely a generational gap, right? But you're my mom, so I was raised with you. I understand your views, how you see things, what's right, how you, what you see is what's right, what's wrong, things like that, right? The problem with it, everybody wants their part. When I say everybody wants their part, so once like our LGBTQ community, right? And I have to agree, they unlike people of color, right? We suffered for many years, But at the same time, when you look back in history, what is everybody's main thought when if you're into the Bible at all, the Bible, or you were raised around the Bible, when you say gay people, what is people's first thought?
Men.
Sodom and Gomorrah.
Well, I guess they. But that's
because,
not. I don't think that's the first thought.
I mean, it's probably not the first thought.
I think it's just strictly men.
Like man on man or something.
Right.
And to people, and that's another point that kind of really bugs me in that regard, because I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd much rather see two women making out than two men. Okay. Because ain't no, we ain't gonna talk about the parts and nothing like that.
Of course.
But
I don't think a woman would want a three-way with with two men getting it on, and I don't think so. I wouldn't. I would not prefer that.
Mama, I hate to tell you, but in the world of porn, that happens a lot.
Oh, what, two men?
Yes, and a woman, and those two men sometimes are bi.
But
Not like that kind of bi, but you understand what I mean.
I do.
They like both sexes. That's that again. So that's looping back to what we were talking about how these people, everyone's identifying as what they're identifying as. You see what I'm saying? Like. So as part of it,
this
like
identifies me.
Exactly. So I say if you ain't got that
God gave it
lopped off and cut open and done whatever, that I wouldn't even want to look at and see how that works, because it'd probably scare the shit out of me. I'd probably just die from horror.
He made the decision.
Exactly.
I didn't make the decision.
Exactly.
So now I'm going to supersede what God says and make a decision that I'm going to change what he bore me as. I don't think so. That's not the way I think. And maybe it's, I don't know about what other people think. I don't too much care, but they say I was born this way. You was born. No, you weren't. You weren't. If we could that's what, okay, scientists say. We can choose the sex of your baby, whatever you want. Okay, to me, okay, now you're choosing. Now, does that make you God now? Does that make you God? Because once you're formed in a womb, it's already said what you're going to be. That formation tells you whether you're going to be a male or a female, depending on what the sperm was. So now you say you were born that way because Lady Gaga says that? Get out of here.
That's the problem. Influence.
Get out of here.
Influence is what people see. Now, don't get me wrong, Mama. I do believe some people are born with a natural affinity to like the same sex. I don't want to argue about it, but that is just a belief of mine.
Well, now, they always say, even when I was young, they used to say,
because there's too many people.
A woman knows how to take care of a woman. But in the same token where you say that, it could be the same thing for a man. A man knows what's gonna tweak a man and what's gonna, but that just because that can possibly be true doesn't mean you have to succumb to the desire of that. Right,
and that's the problem. So so this is what I'm saying, is because I wanted to bring this up too. So me and Marlena were having a discussion. Marlena was like 11 or 12, right? And we were just talking. Me, her, Mary, we're all talking, and she says, and Marlena says, I think I'm gay, right? And there's something I wasn't trying to be mean or anything else like that, because I understand, the world that they get into nowadays is questionable, right? Especially when you live in Las Vegas, where it's in your face. Like, you got guys walking around in skimpy ass things that women should wear on the street, you know what I mean? Like, everywhere, you know what I mean? So, with that thought process in mind, I had to tell her, I was like, no. And this is something I wanted to kind of share with a lot of people, was that I told her no. So, and she's like, what do you mean no? I was like, let me ask you a couple questions. Now, I was saying no to her because I was saying no because you think that way. You shouldn't think that way if you think you like girls. First of all, you don't know what you like yet. What you see, what you see is input from the media, the outside world. It seems cool because that's what they're feeding into your mind. Now, I told an 11-year-old this. I told an 11-year-old this. Now she thought she might be gay, but she wasn't sure. Right? Because she likes everyone, right? And I tried to tell her, I was like, baby, that just means you got a good heart. Now, and then I had to ask her real questions. I was like, when you look at a girl, do you feel that same like when you look at a boy that you like? And she's like, no, it's different. I was like, exactly. The man is very different. And this is what I'm saying. So, and like I said, I was just, it was a discussion we had. Okay. And the ex-wife, she was like, oh, you can't date until you graduate high school or 18, whichever comes first, right? Which is graduate high school, right? And I had my own disagreements with that because I believe having a relationship at a young age is an experience that you must have as part of development. Because when you don't have those experiences at a young age, you're doomed to make the mistakes at an older age because you didn't know any better. Because you didn't have to experience that negative emotion when somebody rejects you. You didn't have to, all those are experiences that we must take with us to learn and grow as people. Everything in life is an experience. We move on to the next experience. Even though I say it like that, think about your everyday life. Think about the last, when you were working. Think of maybe a 5-year span, right? When you feel like you were the happiest. When you really go through that 5-year span, think about what the things were that made you happy. And as you start delving and finding through, you start understanding they were experiences. Which is the same thing that when we look at our photos from events, we remember that experience. And that feeling that experience gave us, we're reminded of it. So you see what I'm saying? You see what I mean? So that's why we do a lot of the things that we do. But on some basis, I wanted to really help people understand, like, you don't have to be what you see. And that's the problem. We're raising, a lot of people are like, oh, it's okay if you're gay, and you're not looking at your child. Do you understand, like, that same saying it's okay can be just as traumatic as saying it's not okay? You should know your children. Now I get it. Now, but if you've been putting your son in dresses since he was 2 years old, and now he's talking about he's gay, and you thought that was okay, what did you think he was going to do? It's a responsibility of the parent to understand that connection with their children and to be able to create an openness with their children so that they can move forward. And that's the one thing that you gave us growing up, Mama, and you probably gave this to everybody in the neighborhood because you're you, Mama. You're you, right? You gave us someone to talk to that was an adult that we could trust. And reality is, as a young person, having an adult you can trust and you can actually talk to and just let it go is part of that developmental experience as well. That's why I try and teach. You can't be a pansy. You got to be tough. I mean, I don't care who you are as part of the LGBTQ community or whatever. I know some people that are what we consider homosexual, or I don't even know how to term them anymore, because there's so many different terms, mama. I've never been one to call people like mean words.
He, the, they.
I'm not calling nobody they. I'm not calling they or he, she. I'm not doing that. You're either a bro or a chick. Which one you want to be? And I said that very, 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 very anguishy, because reality is, I don't want my kids growing up thinking that's okay. Now, don't get me wrong. I have mentally prepared just in case any of my sons say, I mean, every time one was born, I was like, oh, you might have some tendencies, because I thought about it. But thinking about that made me aware of it. So it helped me plan. Even though it never happened, it helped me plan for it. So, and I, like I said,
I don't know if I could plan for
it.
It's
not really a plan. It's not about prepare. But prepare. That's the problem. People. So if you were just sitting there, and I just said one day,
in that bedroom with him, but I'm still, as a parent, gonna say my belief. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't change a person's mind, but
the fact that you believe something different, mm-hmm. but you show and prove to them that you love them anyway.
Yes,
that is the quintessential point. Tyler Perry said it best. What was that? Was it? It was when he was graduating to college. Remember he had a boyfriend or whatever, but his best friend was sleeping with his mom. You don't remember that Tyler Perry movie? It was anyway. I like Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry always has like the storylines and a great point to the stories and stuff like that. So, but I don't know, Mom. It's like we're right now we're at a place where people are confused mm-hmm. about their place in the world. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I can't say that I know exactly who I'm going to be and who I was. I was always confident in who I was. That's a lie. I was not. I was far from confident, far from being the person I am today. When I was younger, I mean, there were times when Devon was really, really little, and I was like, what is going on with me? But not saying that, but like, or I'll just be doing something random and like, why am I doing that? And I'd have to believe that was the first time I started challenging my own thoughts. Obviously, the bad thoughts were winning during those times because I was young. We were doing all kinds of things. It's Las Vegas, so party. Party to the next party to the next party to the next party. So, with like I said, it's not. It's just not where I see my children. But the one thing about me is, you taught me something. You taught me that when it comes to them, no matter what, they can come. They should know that they can come to you for anything. And that so far. Okay, so with Marlena, she's 18 now, right? Not my daughter. Well, my daughter, right? But not biologically my daughter, right? Obviously, I raised her from 2 to 18, mm-hmm. right? But that was the whole thing, and that was the point I was trying to get at. She could talk to me about anything. She would come talk to me before she talked to your mom.
Understandable.
Like I was, and I didn't know that's who I was until I was out of that and able to look back upon it. That I gave her safety and security. we're not talking about a physical sense of safety and security. Well, I'm sure I gave her that too, but because I was dad, but that I know no matter what, I can tell my father this, and it will be okay. And one thing I did always push her, because she was her mom was a certain way about at first, Marlena dealing with her birth father, because she had misconceptions or whatever the case may be, right? Well, based off of Mary had misconceptions because she thought something happened that didn't happen. I'm not going to go into that because it's very personal in her world. Mm-hmm. So I'm definitely not going to get into that. But with that thought process, I still pushed Marlena to get to know her birth father. So as you know, she used to communicate with her grandmother, mm-hmm. but she passed away.
Her paternal grandmother.
Yeah, her paternal grandmother passed away.
Right.
Well, both of them actually. Both of her paternal grandmothers passed away, just many years apart.
No, paternal would be the dad, and the maternal would be the mother.
Oh, I thought they were all paternal or maternal or whatever.
No.
Okay, anyway. Yeah. So anyway, paternal and maternal, like both of her grandparents were gone. So, but she was really close to her dad's mom. So, like I said, through all these years, even though her mom was like, always throwing the red flags, I was like, I understand how your mom feels, but it's not your mom's relationship. It's your relationship with him. That same relationship they had will not be the same exact relationship you will have with him. And you may see him differently. Absolutely. There may be truths your mom doesn't remember. I don't know. Stop. But yeah. So I'm just saying, and then for the children to really understand life as it is, why are we confusing our children? Don't we want them to be stronger and to be better and to move forward? See, and that's the problem. We're still in that old self-destructive mode. When I say self-destructive, I mean self-destructive against other humans and their thought processes. That's why we have a religious war going on between Iran and Iraq for hundreds of years. When people act like, oh, it's a war, it just started. Like, really? Look at history. This war has been going for centuries.
Baby, last night was hands down.
And nowadays, 11-year-old can say, "Well, I want to be a woman," and then the parents just roll out and want to give them a sex change. And the next year, they might say, I want to be a boy again. But they done cut off their parts. We're not parenting.
We're giving them what they want.
You're not my friend. My job is to guide you, to teach you. It's not to always say that you're right because you're my child, but it's for me to help you to be a decent human being.
Yes, it is.
I'm not here to tell you who to sleep with and who not to sleep with, but I am here to tell you the consequences of your actions.
Well,
no matter what that might be.
Ain't that the truth? The consequences of your action. There is something that I learned many years ago. And a lot of people don't understand when I say consequences. So for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Right? This is, this Einstein stat. This guy is like blah, right? But with that with thinking like that, you start seeing the repercussions of people doing things like this.
I think it's a split decision. If your child has not developed, when their bodies are not developed, their mind is not even there. And sometimes when their body's developed and their mind isn't, it's like a two-edged sword.
It is.
How can you make a decision to cut something off that's gonna
affect their entire life?
Right. And most of the men that I have seen through documentation, through views and watching that, it's not only a mental thing, but it's a physical thing. They're not able to fully satisfy themselves because of this. And I don't understand it. Yes, you can have a strong desire. I want to be a woman. But when you choose that, and the medicine that you have to take for the rest of your life, it's like balance. And the ones who say, I'm going back, I don't want this life anymore.
There is no going back once you go there. A lot of it. We've heard situations where people have reversed it. So
that's not the way it was, and people are so afraid to say marriage is between a man and a woman. It's been defined thousands and thousands of years ago. It's already been defined. So because we're in a new age, we're going to make a redefinition of what was already said? No. Some things are better left the way they are. It's like we give our kids permission to be gay. We give them permission to be a he, she, a they, or but if we say it's offensive. It. Well, what is and I don't knock them. I've had gay friends, and I love my gay friends, but it seems to me the reason that they're gay because of a pain that was submitted on them that was not ever their burden to bear.
There it is. There it is.
Sexually assaulted, and because of that sexual assault, they think now, okay, I must be gay if somebody had sex with me in a place that's not supposed to be an entrance. Well, not for a man, but but the same thing that you dislike because of the abuse, now you like it.
There it is. That's the real. And unfortunately, for a lot of people,
same with women.
It was hidden, even in our own family. Sexual assault, and that's where this all stems from, And then you have these people like, oh, I feel safer. No, it's because of an experience that you had before you even knew who you were.
Something that you weren't. And it's really, even though it haunts us, and we think about it. It might be years before it even comes to pass that you realize that had happened. But you make a conscious choice that that's not going to interfere with the individual that you are.
A lot of people don't even understand how to do that.
Right, because what it does is the same thing that you were abused with. Now you're that. I'm not saying that you're that person, but you have assumed that role of being that.
Because it was
that if they or that.
So some books that I've read, they start talking about like this certain scenario that we're discussing, right? Remember we were talking about when I had you listening to that video about the conscious and subconscious mind,
Yes,
right?
that was just
So,
yesterday.
right, exactly. That was just yesterday, right? So, as the subconscious, because the subconscious works on that level, when you're under the age of 5, when you're under the age of 5, your conscious is constantly learning and evolving. So what that means is when your conscious has to protect itself from a sexual endeavor at such a young age, you will always, and now I have been with women that have experienced that, right? Sexual assault from a family member, right? And it does develop who they will become. It develops what kind of men they choose, what kind of men they don't choose, their views of men, their views of, and we're just talking about that side, right? With that thought, with thinking like that and seeing what really comes of a person after that. If you look at that person's whole life, knowing that situation happened, and then you go back and look at timelines and who that person has developed, a lot of times these psychological issues that these people are having, or they have, or they've developed, they develop them at young ages because of a tragedy or something that happened to where they had to defend themselves. Now, obviously they couldn't at the time physically defend themselves, right? But in their mind is in survival mode. That's what your subconscious is. That's your survival mode. Your subconscious hands off to your conscious, right? Because it's a survival mode thing, they're pretty much in survival mode. That's why a lot of these people don't feel relaxed. They can't, I can't feel, I have anxiety. It's because there's something from a tragedy that their subconscious is telling them, hey, you remember this? Now, they may not remember the exact, obviously we don't pick it up like that, right? But with that, it's like they're, whoa, I'm not going all the way. Whoa, I'm not going all the way. Whoa. And that breeds a common, I think of the word I'm looking for, like a common issue with, didn't want to use that word issue, but a common issue with people that had that common thing that happened to them at such a young age. Documents, papers, but with these developmental problems, we also have to find a way to fix that. And that's what a lot of people didn't understand about, like, I mean, you know, I do things that normal people don't do. Like watch a 3-hour video about the conscious mind. And but reality is, it was a debate. It was a really good debate. I really liked that debate, though. It really opened my eyes to different views and how scientifically they were approaching it. And some of these people, Seth was like the heretic. They call him the heretic.
And he was more on the scientific proof of things.
Right.
But that's always been a conflict between science and I hate to say religion, because to me religion is so,
is man-made. Religion is man-made.
Yeah,
it's not
right
on the spiritual level, but that's how we address it. That's how we say what it is. That's how we identify it as a whole.
Right. And she was on what she has seen. You know what people have, the experiences they have experienced of a higher being, shall I say. So if you got three different views, you know,
and she had years of documentation, right, with years of people, right, like different walks of life everywhere. I mean, in the Somalia, she was in Somalia, she was in the UK, she was in, I mean, everywhere. I mean, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that was, I'm just saying, that was awesome. That's how I really got into it.
But I mean, I only got the last 20 minutes, but I understood the conversation and I understood the three different views of what was coming to the table.
Right, and that is a debate everybody should listen to. I really think so. I mean, yeah, it's 3 hours, but what do you? I mean, you can split that up between how long? Okay. You know, instead of watching the clickbait on YouTube, or scroll on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever your social media is.
Yeah, but I you know, some people don't want to know. Some people don't. I want to delve into things because we often destroy things we don't understand, and I can see where people don't want to go and do that, but it had over 14 million views, so somebody's watching. You know, we often don't want to know the truth, you know, or we don't often want to know because we say this is the way I think, but a word or say a subject like that, when you think of a scientific way, you know, a religious way, and one who has delved on experience, you know, each one had very good points, but in the, like he said, I believe it was Seth, the scientist, right?
Okay, the Seth, balding guy.
Yes. Okay, he was the scientist. Like he said, you know, the things that you have said about the experiences that you have experienced, that is something for me to think about, because I never thought about it like that, because I always looked at it like, you know, the validity of that, you know. But when a person, you know, you can usually tell in a psychological evaluation whether a person is being truthful about their feelings or what they have. That's the term for epiphany, basically. Okay, God said to me, you know, God said to me, sometimes we can't hear things because we don't listen. But when you get that boom, who are you going to say gave you that? Your own subconscious? But your own subconscious is sometimes is what gets you in very precarious situations.
Yes, it is.
But if you hear something that you know is totally divine, you know the difference.
And that's part of what they were talking about as well. They were also talking about, like, and this is earlier on, right? This is earlier on in that thing, but they were also talking about that specifically, like the connection, that how we view things. And as you saw, you had three different people. Like, you had one dude talking about, I've documented the experiences from these different people from across the world, you know, and I believe her name is it was Seth Lerman, and I can't remember the last one. But as she's really started talking about it, I loved the view of, I believe his name is, I don't know, I think she's Lerman, Rupert. But yeah, Rupert. So the guy that I said, he's like quirky, but he's freaking a genius, Rupert. Right? Like, dude's like a genius, right? And you see how he talks, and he doesn't, you can tell he wasn't reading from a script. His intelligence level and how he felt about what he was discussing was powerful. You could see it. You see his understanding, but also he had those God-like experiences.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he quoted those God-like experiences while they were talking to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they, like I said, they were having that own little discussion about God, like my experiences with God. And the science guy was talking about anesthesia. Like, oh, so if I gave you anesthesia, you would have nothing. You would have no thoughts of anything, like anything. Your brain just goes to sleep. He's like, so does consciousness exist outside of the brain? You see what I mean? Like that why, man, it was really good, Mama. But in the end, obviously it's all.
But you don't know what that person was in that person's mind while that person was under.
Right. Well, that's the whole thing.
Just because they might not speak it verbally does not mean that they never experienced it.
No. What they're saying is there's no brain activity when you're under anesthesia. That's why you can't remember anything. It shuts that down.
Okay, but I'm saying you don't know that because you said
right. There may have been an experience, but maybe you didn't remember the experience because of the anesthesia. Yes,
it's like a dream.
Yeah, but we remember our dreams.
Not all the time.
Maybe not all of them, but at some point we do at least remember a dream.
Yeah.
And if it's a dream powerful enough, or what we view as powerful, we will remember it because, again, that's your subconscious reminding you of, hey.
I don't remember all my dreams.
Exactly.
And I could tell you.
Oh, I can hear your dreams. You be talking.
In a sleep state, it's almost like you are under anesthesia.
But it's not the difference. It's how your brain reacts to that anesthesia, and that's what he was getting at. On a chemical level, not just a chemical level, but like they did studies with multiple people on anesthesia, like that science guy. He did studies with multiple people on anesthesia, right? And how did it stop these synapses from firing that control this? Because he's actually, like I said, he sat down for like 8 hours doing watching a dude do a brain surgery. You know what I'm saying? On a 6-year-old child.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
But and you're talking about a 6-year-old child who would probably understand a godlike experience.
Right. No, but there's other ones. I'm just saying under that pretense, that's what it was. They were mainly talking about that that situation was that kid. But he's been in, and he was like, I guess he was looking, science and medical methodology. Normally they never even talk or collaborate. They're like, you're the devil. The other one's like, yeah, you're the devil too. You know what I mean? Like, but the fact that he has a really good friend and he allowed him to do that. So it's that common debate that I believe changes us as people and allows us to move forward. Because as science, we have to see that there may be another answer than the answer we believe.
Of course.
The problem with most of our
shut down every possibility, but every possibility should be explored.
It should be explored and be able to say that's not it.
Like, but sometimes you have to say to yourself, at what cost? At what cost? Do you lose your humanity because now you feel this person is a subject as opposed to a human being? And that's what he was talking about too when he was talking about the AIs coming in. Mm-hmm. The consciousness of an AI.
Can it see a concept? Can it evolve and understand the concept of God?
Right. Or who will be their God?
That's the question. Mm-hmm. I mean, we automatically assume like, oh, it's man because we built you. Of course we're God, but God doesn't interfere. Thing about man's got to interfere with everything.
And that's another thing that kind of got me, because he was saying that he believes that even animals have a consciousness, and I believe that's true.
A level of consciousness.
A level of consciousness. When animals stare out to space, who are we to say that they're not in a godlike state or seeing what their definition of a god is? When they can see, right, Right, when they can see things that we cannot.
They also see in different spectrums than we see.
Yeah.
So we are very four-dimensional. No, three-dimensional. I think I'm trying to remember. But how we see is not how all other creatures see. Right.
Right.
Because of how we can't see certain things because they're not within our visual spectrum.
Right.
I mean that light spectrum. Right. We say 3D, but what if something exists outside of that plane? We would only be able to see inside our own plane.
Right.
So with that thinking like that, now I'm going to get into some things that people may but so you know how people used to say, "Oh, the Earth is flat," right? We all know that's not true, right? The Earth is not flat. Nothing is flat, right? These are big balls, right? Huge balls that contain gravity, that pulls gravity within itself. That's how planets are formed. Blah 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 blah. With that thinking, no, come on, I didn't say that. Okay, so bringing that to light and presenting it in that way, the universe having a consciousness, as in the guy said, like the sun has a consciousness, this has a consciousness. That I don't believe, but I do believe that some things in nature were blessed with self-preservation, because in life, and isn't that really what it is? Self-preservation, in your consciousness is knowing, oh, I need to save myself. I can't die. Do you see what I'm saying? As an individual, and seeing yourself as an individual.
But that's the same within animals.
Exactly, and that's what he was trying to get across. I believe that was, like I said, Rupert. That's what Rupert. That's from his findings and philosophies and how his views were. That's what he was trying to get across. That's why I say you had three totally different views. One was an agnostic. One believes in like nature, like connections, mental connections, spiritual connections, all those connections, right? And then you had another guy that was like, it's science. But they're all like, you had anthropologists, that diversity in that where they were sitting. Like I said, when I started watching, I was like, oh, okay, that seems like an interesting answer debate. Okay, I'll check it out. It was like 3 months ago. It really changed. It challenged some of the thoughts that I had prior. In that, right? Obviously, I don't think in depth like that all the time, because if you do, you probably need to go back to school and do that for a living. But I can't do that all the time because I'm me.
Can I have one of them sodas in there? I don't know why I got so sleepy.